All of us need all of us to make it. We are not designed for isolation. We are not meant to go it alone. We are made for connection, for community, for the sacred, sometimes messy, but often beautiful adventure of relationship. And yet, here we are, in a world that often glorifies independence over interdependence, where pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is shouted louder than, lean on me when you're not strong. We live in a culture that says strength looks like going it alone. Just look at the size of self-help sections in libraries and bookstores. But what if true strength is found in asking for help? What if community isn't just a nice idea, but essential for our survival? We need each other. We need someone to call when grief lands like a storm cloud. We need someone to bring soup when our bodies are failing us. We need someone to laugh with us until we can't breathe and our eyes brim over with happy tears. Unitarian Universalism teaches us that we are all connected, that what happens to one affects us all, that we are part of an interdependent web of all existence. But it doesn't say that that web is always comfortable. It can be sticky, it can get tangled, it can pull us in directions we didn't expect. But it also catches us when we fall. Community isn't always easy. It's not neat, it's not tidy. Sometimes it gets real messy, real quick. People disagree, personalities crash, old wounds resurface. We have to show up when we don't feel like it. We have to be accountable when we mess up. We have to listen more than we speak. It asks us to stretch, to risk, to soften our armor. But community, when practiced well, is holy ground. It's where healing happens. It's where change begins. Think about the moments in your life when you have felt truly seen, not just noticed, but seen. Think about the moments when someone looked into your eyes and held your pain without trying to fix you. When someone celebrated your joy without envy or comparison. When someone sat beside you in your grief without rushing you to feel better. That is holy ground. It is the place where we remember that we belong to each other. It is the place where we discover that we are never as alone as we fear. Connection isn't just a nice thing to have on the side. It is central to who we are. And science backs this up. Research shows that loneliness has the same impact on our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness is literally life-threatening. It shortens our lifespan. It increases our risk of heart disease, depression, dementia. But when we feel like we belong, when we know our presence matters, everything changes. Our blood pressure drops, our bodies heal faster, our stress goes down, and we live longer. Connection heals. I think of the folks who show up at this congregation before anyone else arrives, unlocking the doors, setting out hymnals, making coffee, arranging chairs so that when the rest of us walk in, it feels like a place prepared with love. I think of those who send a card or a text just because they felt someone needed to be reminded that they matter. I think of those who drive someone to the doctor, who bring meals to a family in crisis, who stay late cleaning up after coffee hour. I think of those who make room in their circle for someone who is new, someone who is unsure, someone who is wondering whether they belong here. That is community. That is a faith home. We often think of saints as extraordinary people in history books with miracles and halos. But I believe in everyday saints, the ones who keep showing up, the ones who say, I am here with you no matter what, the ones in this room today. You don't have to be perfect to be someone's everyday saint. You only have to be willing. Connection is more than just being essential for our survival. It's a spiritual inclination. It can be hard to spend time with people, even if we love them. And for people that we don't love or don't even know, it can be really hard. Or we can deal with other people by not really connecting with them, just going through the motions, spending time with people, but not really meeting them where they are. It's easier. Often we actually find ways not to connect with people. We are more digitally connected than ever before. yet lonelier than ever too. We have hundreds of online friends, but often few people we would call in a true crisis. We scroll through curated images of other people's lives and quietly wonder why ours don't measure up. We have algorithms feeding us news that only confirms what we already believe, deepening the divides between us. We live behind screens, and too often we forget the sound of each other's laughter, the warmth of a hand on our shoulder, the way someone's eyes light up when they talk about what they love. This faith home is a place to resist that. It's a place to be real. It's a place to practice being human together. We may not all believe the same things. That's part of our beauty. Some of us know what we believe, some of us don't, some of us are still figuring it out. But we share something deeper. We believe in the power of love. We believe in the necessity of justice. We believe in the worth of every person. One of the recurring threads at General Assembly in Baltimore this year was the power of connection. I heard it over and over again as part of many presentations, workshops, and worship services, how it nourishes us, heals us, and grows our congregations. I first heard these words during the service of the living tradition. All of us need all of us to make it. That's not just a slogan, it's a call to spiritual community. It's a reminder that none of us are free until all of us are free. None of us are safe until all of us are safe. And none of us are whole unless we make space for each other's wholeness. I remember a time when someone in this congregation lost their job. They didn't tell anyone at first. They were ashamed. They worried about being judged. They were scared about how they would pay their bills, how they would take care of their children. But word quietly spread, as it does in a healthy community. Folks bought groceries. Someone quietly slipped them some cash in an envelope. People checked in, not prying, just showing up. Eventually, that person said something I still remember. I used to think I came to this faith home because I liked the sermons, but I stayed because when I fell apart, no one let me fall alone. That's why we come here. We come for the singing, we come for the rituals, we come for the learning. But more than that, we come so that we will be connected, part of a community. We do this by showing up regularly, even when we don't feel like it. Checking in on someone who seems quiet, making room for newcomers, forgiving one another when we get it wrong, sharing our stories, our talents, our fears, volunteering even when it's inconvenient, choosing curiosity over judgment, offering help without waiting to be asked. Every time we do these things, we strengthen the web. We become the hands that hold each other up. Some of you may remember Reverend Bob, one of our previous ministers. He talked about not just believing in the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, but actually practicing it. He called it worthiness living, treating other people as worthy, even as we're struggling to believe whether they are or not. It's in the connection that worthiness happens. The people who showed up in Selma, Alabama, the ones who answered Martin Luther King's call to march, who risked tear gas and beatings, they sang freedom songs as they marched. The amazing thing is that they included verses about the governor of Alabama and the chief of police of Selma. They sang out their wish that these people, their enemies, could be free of hate, free of ignorance. Not as a political tactic, but because they realized that we were all interconnected. They did this for the young white boys who were full of hate, as much as for the Black girls who were marching for their lives. We are all in this together. That's worthiness living. It's not just what you believe, it's how you live. In Unitarian Universalism, we say that revelation is not sealed. This is one of the things that makes us different from other faith homes. What does that mean? It means that truth and wisdom are still unfolding. It means that none of us has all the answers. It means that our understanding of what is sacred, what is just, what is true, continues to grow, and that growth happens in community. We are shaped by the stories of others. We are transformed by the courage we witness in each other's lives. We are humbled by the perspectives we haven't considered. We are invited to keep learning, keep questioning, keep stretching. When someone shares their experience, especially if it's different from our own. That is revelation. When we gather to wrestle with big questions, to explore the mysteries of existence, that is revelation. When we dare to look honestly at our own blind spots and decide to do better, that is revelation. We don't just read ancient texts and call it done. We write new chapters with our lives. We add our voices to the chorus of those who came before. We hand down wisdom to those who will come after. Revelation is not sealed. It flows through this room. It speaks in your heart and in mine. It is born in our relationships, in our commitment to keep learning, and our willingness to be changed by love. There is something sacred about a community that tells the truth about life, that doesn't pretend everything is always fine. When we gather in this place, we bring our whole selves, our gratitude and our grief, our hopes and our heartbreaks, our questions and our convictions. And when we bring all of it, when we refuse to hide or shrink or pretend, this becomes holy ground. This is where healing begins. Healing doesn't always look like everything getting fixed. Sometimes healing is simply knowing you don't have to carry the burden alone. Sometimes healing is having a witness to your pain. Sometimes healing is laughter breaking through sorrow, or a hand resting on your shoulder when words won't come. In a world that tells us to keep our struggles hidden, to pretend we are okay, to numb ourselves with distraction, this community offers something radical. A place to be honest, a place to be held, a place to remember that no feeling is final. That is holy ground, and we make it together. When we talk about transformation, we often think of large movements, marches in the streets, policy shifts, sweeping cultural awakenings. And those things matter. They're essential. But so much of the world's healing begins on a smaller scale. It begins in conversations around a kitchen table. It begins when someone dares to speak the truth about their life. It begins when we decide to show up, to listen, to stay present, even when it's uncomfortable. And it began in this morning's story when the characters worked together to rebuild the tunnels. Change begins in community. When we practice compassion here, it becomes easier to practice it out there. When we learn to honor one another's dignity here, it becomes second nature to honor the dignity of a stranger. When we cultivate courage here, it fuels our courage to stand up for justice in the wider world. If you've ever wondered whether it really matters that you come here, whether lighting our chalice, singing together, sharing joys and sorrows actually make a difference, remember, it does. This is where change begins. It begins in the simple act of showing up for each other. It begins in every moment we choose love over fear. It begins every time we decide that none of us will be left behind. The work of justice, of healing, of reconciliation, it all starts in the spaces where we practice community, where we remember that we belong to each other. This congregation is more than a building, more than a schedule of events, more than a list of committees and programs. It is a faith home. A faith home is the place where you can exhale, where you can set down your armor, where you can be loved exactly as you are and encouraged to become all you are called to be. A faith home is a place where your story matters, where your gifts are needed, where your pain is honored. It is a place where you can bring your children to learn what it means to live with integrity and compassion, where you bring your questions and doubts without fear of judgment. A faith home is where you go when your heart is broken and where you come to celebrate when your heart is full. It is the place that calls you back when you wander, the place that stands with you when you are afraid, the place that challenges you to live your values, even when it's hard. Not every community becomes a faith home. It takes intention. It takes trust. It takes the willingness to show up again and again. And ours is certainly not perfect. We're a work in progress. Yet we are moving in the right direction, striving to be better. But when we make that commitment, when we choose each other over and over, something sacred happens. We discover that we are braver than we knew, that we are more loved than we thought, that we are capable of healing and of helping to heal the world. This is a faith home, and it is ours. Sometimes people ask how to grow spiritually. They want to know what books to read, what practices to adopt, what wisdom to study. And those are good questions, but it looks more like this. One of the most powerful ways we grow is through each other in community. In community, we get called in when we mess up. We learn to apologize and to forgive. We learn to listen to experiences different from our own. We learn to widen our circle of concern. In community, we are challenged to love bigger, to stretch our empathy wider, to soften the hard places in ourselves. When we bump into each other's rough edges, we have the chance to become more whole, not less. When we risk vulnerability, we find connection. When we show up, imperfect, human, and willing, we create a space for transformation can take root. That is spiritual growth, and it happens here. So today I invite you to recommit yourself to community, not just as a place you go on Sunday mornings, but as a way you live. Show up even when you're tired. Even when you're uncertain, reach out. Even when you're afraid of being rejected, make space. Even when it's inconvenient, be brave enough to be known. Be tender enough to listen. Be generous enough to forgive. Because someone in this room needs what only you can give. And you need something that only someone here can offer. All of us need all of us to make it. And together we will. Amen, Ashe, let it be so.